Good afternoon. My name is Dennis Dinsmore, and welcome to The Other Side. We're produced by Community Counseling of Bristol County. We're concentrating today on mental health issues. My guest today is Representative Pat Haddad. And could you please, first of all, tell me a little bit about your background, please?
Sure. I've been in the legislature. I was sworn in January of 2001. And I've done a lot of different things, been on a lot of different committees. Right now, I am the Speaker Pro Tem of the Massachusetts State House. That means everything the Speaker doesn't want to do, he asks me to do. But I've worked on a lot of different issues. And most recently, with the potential that Taunton State Hospital was going to close, I got really involved in the mental health issues of our community. And it's become very apparent to me that we need to focus on them. And so I'm so glad that this program is sponsored by Community Counseling, because Phil Shea and I have a great, we've got a good practice between us, that we talk to each other very frequently, and he's very able to give me a lot of good counsel himself on the issues. And so that's what brings me here today, because I felt that it was very important to make sure that people understand that everyone in the community, regardless of their needs, gets attention.
Well, I personally met you at my recovery story was told.
Yes, at the gala.
Yes.
And it was very impressive. And I once again have to tell you, you're very brave. And I'm so happy that you're reconnecting with your family and getting back on a track where you're more comfortable.
Thank you. Now, do you see the people in the State House seeing this as an issue that they might be able to help out as?
More and more. I think that what's happening is everybody realizes that regardless of where you live, whether it's here in the South Coast, whether you're out in the western part of the state, a lot of things have contributed to people not feeling comfortable. The economy has caused a lot of depression. Just things that happen are very hard for people to come to grips with. And so we very often find that people's circumstances cause them not only physical harm, but the inability to grapple with what their circumstances mean to them mentally. So I think because of the economy, because people are just becoming more aware of our system, that lots of my colleagues are now beginning to realize that we have an obligation to do more, including the Speaker of the House, who was able to come to the South Coast a couple of months ago and see for himself that we have very significant issues here.
No, I'm not quite sure, but is President Obama, does he have much knowledge about the growing concern about mental health?
I know that it is part of Obamacare, but I can't say that I actually know whether he himself understands the gravity of the situation we find ourselves in. But I do know that the Speaker does more and more, and he's very concerned about backups in the emergency rooms, not enough slots in the community, not enough stabilization programs that help people to remain in their homes and in their community.
Well, I want to make it personally as a goal of mine to speak out about the stigma, about mental health. Do you think I can get a lot of help from a lot of people out there?
I think you can, especially when you tell your story, because I think your story is very powerful. And you're right, there still is a stigma. And it's going to take a lot of different people to stand up and say, I'm just an ordinary person, and I've had these issues. I think there's statistics that show that everyone at some time of their life experiences some mental health issue. How many people are depressed? You lose a family member and you immediately begin, to feel like it's too much, or you lose your job, or any number of, and those are mental health issues that I don't care how much money you have or you don't have. you're affected. You're very much affected by how your mind plays tricks with you very often, and you can't seem to stop feeling sad. So, when you and your colleagues and your fellow recovering people get out and tell their stories, people can't help but be touched by it.
Yeah, I've always thought that people were afraid to talk about it, but I think more and more people are coming out and talking more because they're not afraid. I attend Pathways, it's a day treatment program, and there is help out there for people, But I thought, in the past, there hasn't been that much help for people,
No, I think you're right. I think there's still a lot of people who can't quite take that first step and ask for help, and so very often they'll, try to change the way they feel by having a drink, and then it becomes more than one drink, to try to change how sad you're feeling, So while I think more people, and you, as I said, will, I'm hoping, foster more people to come out and speak, I think there's still a lot of people who can't ask for help. And they think they can do it themselves. They think that they can, oh, if I just take a nap, I'll feel better. But then you find yourself sleeping more and more and more, and then you can't go to work, and your life just becomes completely intertwined in trying to feel better. And there isn't, not many people can do it by themselves. I mean, you know that. You need help. You need people to talk to. You need people going through the same things that you are. And it's not easy to take that first step and ask for help.
Yeah, I think places like CCBC, they have so many different programs, such as Pathways, and all those therapists over there that can help people, But the people, I mean, they have to take the first step.
Right.
You have to take the first step and ask for the help, which is a hard thing to do.
Very hard. Very hard. And, I give people who are able to take that step and ask for help a great deal of credit. Like I said, we've all experienced being sad. And when you can't find your way out of the sadness, you got to ask somebody how to do it, how to help, because it's not easy. And then it leads to other things, and we get on that slippery slope, and we just feel like we just keep going down and down and down, and then it does, things are beyond. People then try to take their lives, or they try to change their circumstances, and but I worry about those people who can't take that first step, and that's where hospitals come in, where family members bring somebody into the ERs of Morton or Charlton down in Fall River, or St. Luke's over in New Bedford. But Phil Shea and community counseling reach a great many people. Never enough, but they do reach a great many people.
See, Phil Shea's daughter is the one that did my story.
Yes.
That's what we're hoping, is to get more people out there that there is hope. I've always felt there's hope for everybody, as long as people can be reached.
Right.
I don't think anybody is hopeless.
No,
You know what I mean?
no, you're right. You're right. Everybody. And I guess technology is a very good thing, because the more people can get links to, like your recovery story on YouTube, or to what Bristol Community Counseling is doing, all of this technology, when you're afraid to take that step outside your house, if you're in your house and you can go online and you can see somebody like you, people can say, well, geez, maybe I can do that because he did it. So now what do I do next? So I think technology is going to be a great thing. Every time we tell a story, and we can get it out as far and wide as possible. And just the fact that you're doing the show tells people that there's a way up. And, I don't know how long you've been in recovery, but I'm sure that maybe a year ago, you wouldn't have been able to picture yourself doing this, or maybe 2 years ago.
I couldn't believe me doing this at all.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But it's not without a lot of help from a lot of people,
Right.
But I think I mean, with all these different things that have happened, I think we're going to be reaching a lot of people.
I hope so.
You know?
I hope so. The gala was tremendous. It was
Yeah.
great that Congressman Kennedy came.
Yes.
I think as a new congressman, he's really digging in to try to see where he can really be helpful. And, you know, this is one of those places that the federal government can be more helpful. And as you asked about President Obama, I'm not sure, but I think that the whole gala and the stories that were told made a big impression on the congressman. They made a huge impression on me. And so I think that that's very important, that people see it, hear it, and realize that there's hope. Because it's a lot of the problem. You don't feel like there's any hope. And until you find that hope, you kind of keep, you know, sliding down into that place that's not pleasant.
And Representative Kennedy, this family, I mean, President Kennedy had, I believe, a sister, didn't he, that was very ill?
Yes, had very
Spent
significant
many years
age-
in a mental institution.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. She
And
did.
didn't he sign that act?
Yes, he signed the act. And, you know, we all wish that mental health issues would have the same attention that physical health issues
Yeah.
have. We're not there yet. You know, we're trying. We've made laws that say that parity and equalness is important. But I think we have to be very critical of ourselves, meaning the government, that I'm not sure that that equality is there yet.
Right.
And that's a disappointment. It's a big disappointment.
Yeah, I think more people spend more money on other things that are maybe not as important, maybe.
Oh, well, you know, if you go into the emergency room and you have a heart attack, you have a broken leg, or you know, you have to be admitted for something. If it's a physical ailment, you're there.
Right,
You're put
right.
in. If it's a mental health issue, it takes much longer. There's a different kind of process that's going through, and that's one of the things that we want to change at the state level. Everybody, when a person arrives at a hospital and they're in crisis, and it happens to be their mental health that's in crisis,
Right.
they should have the same swift attention, the same, here's your next steps, here's where we can send you, here's what we can give you, and here's who's going to help you follow up, that you would get if you go in and sprain your ankle. You know, when you sprain your ankle, they give you an air cast or whatever. They tell you, you know, here, take a little bit of pain medication and be at Dr. So-and-so on Monday morning. It's not the same when you present with, you're in deep, deep depression and you're anxious and maybe you're suicidal. It's not the same. You wait a long time in that emergency room. It's not right.
I know of people that have spent days in emergency rooms waiting to find a bed,
Right,
you know.
right, and that's not fair.
They're not on the priority list, which I know people that have had more serious physical problems, but.
Well, I think that it's, because the ERs want to treat everybody and get them
Right.
out, part of the problem is we don't have enough placements. And we don't have all levels of placement. So somebody who comes into the ER with severe anxiety and very depressed, it may be that they just need to get a good counselor. But sometimes those aren't available as quickly, and that's part of the big problem that we need to address.
They do, I know sometimes they have crisis units they can put some people in. They're very good too.
Right,
you know.
right. But do we have enough? Are they there on the weekends? Are we able to get them into an ER quickly enough to address the problems and find us, at least if not a full solution, a temporary solution, to at least relieve that anxiety and depression that they're experiencing at that moment?
I know personally, I don't think I've been in a hospital for 5 years, and that's my goal, to stay out of them.
Good for you. You
I
haven't
feel
been in
like-
for 5 years?
Yeah.
That's
I
excellent.
feel like I don't need to be in one. I've
Good.
at a point in my life now where, with all the help I've received, I don't believe I need to be
And that's great.
in.
That's what we should
I'm
all be
functioning
working
pretty
towards.
well now with all the help
I think
I've
you do
received.
great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
So we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Welcome to Special Olympics of Massachusetts. Special Olympics Massachusetts provides year-round sports training and athletic competition in a variety of well-coached Olympic-type sports for individuals with intellectual disabilities, providing them with continuing opportunities to develop physical fitness, prepare for entry into school and community programs, express courage, experience joy, and participate in the sharing of gifts, skills, and friendship with their families, other Special Olympic athletes, and their communities. SOMA offers participation in 27 different individual and team sports at local, sectional, and state levels over 4 sports seasons. Through these sports and other activities, SOMA strives to convey respect, integrity, inclusion, and acceptance. One sport model used is unified sports, which brings together athletes with and without intellectual disabilities to train and compete on the same teams. Some of these individuals include high school students, peers, siblings of athletes, and neighbors. This is just one way to volunteer with SOMA. Volunteers are a large part of the Special Olympics Massachusetts, and these are people looking to help a local team or at an event. Volunteers at events help with the sporting event directly or something with outside the sport part of the event, such as food, awards, activities between games, and other jobs. Volunteers contribute to a large amount of the success of SOMA. SOMA looks to provide athletes with a sense of inspiration, determination, and courage. If you would like more information on Special Olympics Massachusetts, visit our website, www.specialolympics.org/south. You can also visit our office located at 125 John Hancock Road in Taunton. Special Olympics Massachusetts. We have something for everybody.
Okay, we'll back to the other side with Representative Patricia Haddad.
Thank you.
And the State House, you have some views of the State House and.
Yes, we're on a what they call an informal break during the last part of the year. So there's only non-controversial work going on. We still meet every other day. But as soon as we go back in January, we start into the process of the new budget season. So what we will be doing is putting together what we think the money that's being spent next year should be spent on. So as soon as we go back, one of the first things that I plan to do is once again bring together all of the House members that represent communities in Bristol County. Over the last 2 years, we've stuck together about what's going on at Taunton State Hospital. And so once again, we will be there pushing back to make sure that we have here in the South Coast a facility that provides services and all kinds of services. You know, for a long time it was inpatient. We've made the suggestion that if we don't need the inpatient beds, because as you said, you're really striving to stay out of a facility, and I think many people are, it's still an opportunity to use that as kind of a hub for all of the services that are available. And also maybe to make some changes so that if somebody is in crisis and they go into an ER, instead of leaving them in the ER, maybe what we do is immediately get them over to Taunton, where they're not sitting in a chair. Right. Maybe there's a better way to, to deal with that crisis.
Right.
And then you've got the center of where then we can link people up with places like community counseling.
Right.
Or we can link them up with maybe they only need a bed for 2 or 3 days. Maybe you just need, somebody to be with you and pull you through this really hard time and then get you back out into the community. So we're making that suggestion to the department that we think that there are uses for Taunton State. Uses that may not be what we've always thought about it as, but let's think outside the box. And also, we know that there's a real connection between mental illness and substance abuse.
Right.
Very hard to, draw that line where one stops and the other one ends.
Right.
So why aren't we using Taunton in that capacity as well? That perhaps it's a good place that people could detox, medically detox. And the other thing that we're looking at Taunton for is when a person goes to court and they are required to stay at a facility, and sometimes it's only for a week or two.
Right.
What's happening right now with women, especially, is that they were being sent to MCI Framingham. They were sent to prison.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Right,
That's
right.
not what they need.
Right.
So that's another suggestion. That is there an opportunity for us to use Taunton as one of those short term that the court says you need, 7 days or you need 14 days.
Right.
Well, it's much more humane. It's much more respectful.
Right.
That yes, you may have to stay there, but you don't have to be treated like a prisoner. And I think that's another big worry of mine, that we don't treat people with respect. And I don't know how you can ask to get any respect yourself if, as a state, we're not treating people respectfully. So I think there's opportunities at Taunton. If we get outside the box of, this long term where you're stuck in a hospital for a year. No, we're not saying that. We're saying that a person who presents themselves with a mental illness should have the opportunity to have a flexible program. Just because somebody says you should be there for 7 days, maybe in 4 days, you're feeling better, you're feeling strong, you've got a program to go to.
Well, there's a lot of space over there.
Great, there's a lot of space. And the other thing is it's a campus.
Right.
It's nice.
Yeah, it is
You know,
nice.
you can go to the greenhouse.
Right.
You could go on the campus.
There's a gymnasium over there.
Right. So why can't, because that's, regardless of what your issue is, you want to be able to operate in the community. I used to be a phys ed teacher a long time ago.
Oh,
I taught
really?
physical
Oh.
education. And we know that activity is good for you. So we know that, they'll say to you a lot, if you're not feeling so well, get out there and do something. Walk, get some fresh air. So if we believe that that's true, if we believe that activity and nature and they can help you physically as much as mentally, then why aren't we using that facility that we have? You've got nice rooms, people can stay
yeah,
in,
yeah.
you've got the doctors, you've got the nurses, but you've got the opportunity to, like you said, go to the gym. Run on a treadmill or just walk outside, get some fresh air. And I think that's what concerns me about, if you break your leg, you're going to a gym to do physical therapy.
Oh,
Why can't that be part of your recovery?
good thought.
So we're going to push. We're going to push back because we really don't want them to close. And so we're going to show them that there are many, many opportunities for that facility that can be helpful regardless of how long you need to stay there. And I honestly think, of course I know nothing, I told you I was a phys ed teacher, but I honestly think that the more normal a situation is, the more you are encouraged, in your therapy. You're encouraged, right, to go out and do things
definitely,
and
sure, yeah.
go to lunch or go to read or go
Sure.
to,
Hobbies.
Exactly. So if you have that opportunity,
Yeah.
and we can provide that for people who need a week or two or even a month of, what's the word I'm looking for? Intense help. We've got a facility. And it can be dual use. It can be for those people who really need to medically detox if they've been, abusing substances. So we're going to work on that first thing that when we go back. We've had a lot of, there's been a lot of talk about how we're dealing with children.
Oh, yes.
It's one of the most difficult things because we know that children are very, very affected by what they see, what they hear, and so there are programs for kids, but there aren't enough programs for kids. And what happened earlier this year was they were going to close down some adolescent and pediatric beds.
Oh, were they? Wow.
And we pushed back and fought back on that. The problem is that they tell me, again, I'm not an expert, but I'm told that children present with issues in cycles. So you don't see as much in the summer. And then as kids get back into school, the stress of school, the stress of performing causes them to go into crisis and have issues.
Right.
So it's, everything costs money. So what they tell us is that it's very difficult for programs, children's programs, to maintain because they'll have bulks of time when there's no one, and they can't make it work financially. So we've got to really do some work on that because it's, kids are just, we're seeing kids coming into even preschool with real issues. And we also know that poverty, if a child is born into poverty and they see violence or they live in a stressful situation where, maybe mom and dad aren't working, there's not enough to eat, that also causes the brain development to delay. And so later on, children are found to have issues that present themselves not only in, depression and acting out, but also in special needs. Their reading comprehension is off. So I think we really have a lot of work to do. But like everything else, it's about money. And so I think that the best thing that people could do would be to get in touch with their state legislator, their senator, their representative, and talk about how they want to see mental health issues given the same attention as a heart attack or a broken leg.
Right,
And I
right.
think not just, from the mental health community itself, but from your family members, people that see what great strides you've made and what great strides some of the other people who are in the counseling services have made. And they need to come forward and say, we want this, because it's way too easy to ignore it.
Well, I think, with different programs that we've talked about here today, and, I think with pathways and even just the discussions have gone on, I think we're going to reach a lot of people,
I hope so. I want to get a lot of phone calls from my constituents.
Yes, I think the word's out there, and I hope this is going to be seen by a lot of people, because just by listening to you today, I've been enlightened. I didn't know a lot about this. So I want to thank everybody for being here today, and it was Representative Patricia Haddad. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dennis.